Hey, what's up guys, Rip here. So today we're going to be revisiting Sweet Baby, who's found themselves in another round of controversy. As many of you already know, over the past couple of months, Sweet Baby's doing everything in its power to rebrand their public image, trying to convince people that they're not interested in DEI or related agenda pushing. They are just a narrative consulting firm who wants to help make good stories. Now, this narrative has been pushed by yet another employee from Sweet Baby, and that push will backfire horribly, and on top of that, their claims will be greatly contradicted by a recent discovery made, a collaboration between Sweet Baby and another company that is trying to push a DEI agenda for Sweet Baby to a bigger audience and client base. So as I said, over the past couple of weeks and really months, Sweet Baby's been doing a revamp, including with their website. They did a rebrand of the website, basically removing any mention of diversity, equity, or inclusion. It's a lot more basic in its language, focused more on the narrative consultation aspect of their organization. In fact, this was mirrored by a recent XOXO festival TED Talk that the CEO, Kim Belair, recently made, where she said, "We don't know why we are harassed by so many people. We're the victim of an unwarranted harassment campaign. All we are is just a humble narrative consultation firm who has no interest in pushing agenda." Now, that narrative has been recently pushed by another former Sweet Baby Inc. member here, Grant K. Roberts, who has been trying to push the narrative in a recent sit-down interview with The Gamer, saying that Sweet Baby is misunderstood. They're the victim of a unwarranted harassment campaign, and all they wanted to do as a company was make better stories, and they had barely any impact on the ones they were involved with. Now, you might recognize this individual before we get into the article, because this tweet made a lot of rounds on social media back in February. So once the connection was discovered between Sweet Baby and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, people were going through the related employees from Sweet Baby who had involvement with this game. And of course, Grant was one of those people. And people immediately started clowning on this post because, I mean, just look at it. He is smugly standing in front of a shelf of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League copies, which ironically, it's like the biggest cell phone ever because as it appears, it doesn't look like a single copy has been taken off of that shelf. And that kind of makes sense when you know how this all played out with this game. Right now, here we are only a few months after this live service game has dropped, barely making it into the 200 concurrent player mark right now. This game lost Warner Bros. Hundreds of millions of dollars, an absolute slop fest that ironically a lot of people at Rocksteady kind of understood as a bad connection. Their connection with Sweet Baby was something they needed to start covering up once it was discovered. And this former developer at Rocksteady, Del Walker, made this post trying to downplay Sweet Baby's involvement with that game, saying that they came into the script dialogue very late in the game, and the story was actually created by the same two people who did the story for Arkham City and Knights. And yeah, there's your source, and now stop spreading misinformation, he says. Well, unfortunately for him, Grant is a bit of a yapper on social media, and he really likes to hype himself up in Sweet Baby. And in his own statement, his thread celebrating the release of this game, he says flat out that they got involved, Sweet Baby got involved with this game back in 2019. And then by the end of that year, they said they needed some more writers to handle some other lines of dialogue, tens of thousands of lines of dialogue. So they brought in Kim, the CEO, and another Sweet Baby employee, basically making it a majority Sweet Baby writing group for this game. So yeah, that didn't go over very well. And eventually, when he was getting mocked on social media, Grant would make this absolute gem of a tweet saying, "The cool thing about liking video games is that you can go play video games instead of joining a weird cult and being wrong about everything." Ah, yes, I can't believe gamers are so divisive and hostile. Yeah, this is very ironic seeing someone from Sweet Baby talking about a cult and being wrong about everything. And as you can see, he got clowned on. But anyways, let's return to the latest news involving Grant and Sweet Baby. So he sat down for an interview with The Gamer here. And here's the title saying, "With all eyes on Sweet Baby Inc., the devs are just getting on with their jobs." Ah, yes, they're just getting on with their jobs as the CEO and former employees have been going essentially on a press tour the last couple of weeks and months to try to disavow any claims that they have a DEI-related agenda and that they're just this humble narrative consultation firm trying to write good stories. But let's get into this. So here's what the article says. But job stability isn't the only force at play here. Grant Roberts recently spent 1.5 years working as a narrative director at Sweet Baby Inc., a consultation company that, like all consultation studios in games, largely went under the radar until earlier this year. Then, all of a sudden, it was everywhere. Then, out of thin air, people just started harassing these innocent people at Sweet Baby. I swear, we will never see a single person from Sweet Baby or in the games journalism traditional sources ever acknowledge why the criticism against Sweet Baby started. And we all know the real reason. It began with a Sweet Baby Inc. employee, Chris Kindred, starting a harassment and false report campaign against Cabrutus, the creator of Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, which of course would blow up as a result of this. This is not acknowledged by any of the woke journalists, and it's not acknowledged by anyone apparently at Sweet Baby either. But anyways, it continues on to say, a targeted hate campaign against the company, which often leads to harassment and abuse of its employees, paints Sweet Baby Inc. out to be many things it's not. For one thing, it paints them as powerful when consultants have very little sway on what a final game looks like. The tamer detractors target the studio for offering consulting on diversity, equity, and inclusion to a number of AAA projects, while the worst are accusing the team of blackmailing game developers, forcing them to make games woke. Now, we'll return to this last section in a moment here, but yeah, they're trying to say on the one hand that they're very important, they do all these things, but they're also trying to say we don't do anything. So if you don't really have any sway or power or influence on these games, why is anyone hiring you? You know what I mean? Like, unless it's to check boxes or that you're lying and you actually have a much greater influence than you're trying to portray publicly. And now addressing this claim down here that basically this idea that they're putting any pressure onto these companies is ridiculous and they don't do anything like that. Well, if you look at the statements from its own CEO, this infamous clip, I mean, we literally played this yesterday to counter similar claims. This is a very obvious picture that they're trying to portray here, that you're supposed to put pressure on these companies to work with Sweet Baby and other woke consultation firms.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
I mean, what does that sound like? Does that sound like people trying to work with Sweet Baby completely on their own will? Or do you think there's some sort of pressure or some sort of manipulation going on there? I mean, I think the fact that this comes from the CEO speaks volumes. But let's continue on with the article. So now they talk about misinformation. They're going after gamers and also YouTubers for spreading what they claim is misinformation. So beginning here, misinformation online is nothing new, particularly on YouTube and Twitter. With this in mind, Roberts feels like a campaign like the one we're seeing now was inevitable. I think if it wasn't Sweet Baby that was the target of all this, then it would probably be someone else. And it has been other people who are not connected to Sweet Baby or not doing the same kind of work, because I think that it's part of this larger culture war that's happened that's never really gone away in the West, and it's in the East in some respects as well. So I think it's very ironic that people like Grant and all these other people in the industry, and especially games journalists, constantly talk about the culture war and that these gamers are pushing for this culture war that began back in 2014 with the original Gamergate wave, when they don't even realize they are part of that culture war. They are the reason all of this is happening. They have gone unchecked for so many years to the point where developers and journalists, they feel completely comfortable and safe with their job to go out there and attack gamers, to disparage people based on the color of their skin or the fact that they're men, and so on and so forth. They feel so comfortable and protected because of the culture war they have fostered that they can say those things. And now in 2024, especially given the connection to Sweet Baby and the snowball effect that started, people are finally calling out this stuff and saying enough is enough. And we're seeing companies like Sweet Baby and all these woke games struggle because people are putting their foot down finally. And that is all a part of the same culture war that these people act like they're not a part of, but they're the ones who are exacerbating things and making it worse. But anyways, they go on to say, Back then, 10 years ago, referring to the original Gamergate, people were making their name based on being attached to Gamergate. So that part of it hasn't changed, but it certainly does seem to be a lot easier now. Many are making careers off the back of hate against Sweet Baby. It would be a lot for anyone to handle, let alone a company of just 16 employees. But Robert says they've responded by just getting back to work. Yeah, they're just getting back to work as he sits down for an interview, trying to tell you over and over again, we're not angry, we're not being influenced anyway, we're just getting back to work. I mean, him and the CEO and other employees, they've gone on literally a press tour the last couple of months trying to say how unbothered they are by all this stuff and that they are just a narrative consultation firm and that all these claims about a DEI-related agenda is crazy. And on top of that, you can see the shade being thrown at YouTubers. They don't like being covered. Well, if you don't like being covered, stop making bad games and also stop having your employees, including all the way up to your CEO, come out and say ridiculous stuff on the regular. You are providing free content to people. I guess in that sort of way, it is easier because people like Grant, people like Kim, they can't stop talking. They constantly come out with interviews and bad tweets, and they ignore things that they should be concerned about, like their employees acting like psychopaths, as we've covered in many different videos. They ignore all those things and try to basically put their head down and keep going, but at the same time, they keep yapping and making it worse for themselves. And they can be mad as they want to be, but people have a right to cover what they're doing. And it's obviously very important to people, especially gamers, to understand what's going on with Sweet Baby and anything like them because it influences the games that they're a part of and people want to know about these connections. Now, of course, we've seen a similar thing happen with Kim here. And I just want to share this image again. This is from her little TED Talk where she showed this screenshot compilation, including with one of my videos here of people criticizing Sweet Baby. Now, the irony of this, of course, is that Kim didn't even create this image. In fact, it was created by a different content creator who made this compilation of images to show how much criticism the company is rightfully receiving. But the irony of that is not lost on me. And also, one final point, too, about this whole claim that, you know, riding on the backs of the industry. This is a company with employees right now who are trying to convince you at the same time they're worth hiring and they're super important and valuable, but they're also barely affecting the games at all, and also that their word doesn't really carry a lot of weight in the process of creating stories and games generally, which is very ironic because in your own sense, if you're not that big of an impact, aren't you riding on the coattails of the success of these studios that are hiring you as well? But anyways, that wouldn't be the only thing going on with Sweet Baby. This headline from That Park Place reading, the Powell Group deletes its associations with Sweet Baby Inc. from LinkedIn and its website. So this is the main post people are looking at with the Powell Group here. So they say this: we believe you need diverse voices to solve diverse problems. Together with our partners at Sweet Baby Inc., we provide sensitivity and authenticity consulting at every stage of development. We connect you to an inclusive and knowledgeable team of consultants to bring your story to life. Our approach leads with the creation of joyful and authentic experiences. We seek to be additive, not just corrective. Reach a bigger audience is one of the goals. We believe that representation is key to connecting players and audiences. Appeal to a wider reach of players with more inclusive storytelling. Tell new stories. We tackle narrative and character in any form, keeping emotional resonance and authenticity at the heart of our work. Represent empathetically. We seek to spark joy in marginalized players, elevate real human experiences, and foster empathy within your game. Yeah, does this sound like a apolitical narrative consultation firm who has no interest in pushing DEI-related agendas? Yeah, this alone, this connection to this Powell Group, completely dismantles everything that Grant and Kim have been trying to convince you, which, again, nobody's surprised by that, but it would go on further with this post here saying, we believe you need diverse voices to solve diverse problems. And again, giving their little mission statement, but all of these things would be deleted. So you had different YouTubers like Master of the TDS as well as Vera Dark pointing out this connection about a week ago. And since then, all of these posts have been taken down. They are sweeping everything under the rug because this Powell Group and Sweet Baby know that this connection is a horrible PR for them and once again reinforces everything that people have been saying about them since they were largely discovered earlier this year, that they are a consulting firm pushing their own DEI-related agenda onto these games and companies they're working with, and no attempt at a public rebrand is going to erase that memory from people, especially when you get caught red-handed like this. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.